you are the owner of your own storyline. So whatever you say is right. That's the first best part about the speech. So even if you make yourself a Superman in some particular scenario, that's fine. No one else knows about this. And this is where I took up from being a kinesthetic person to a visual person. You would notice that no matter where you see me in a Toastmasters club, there would be a different attire. Enough number of colorful jackets. And things of that sort. And I hide the real me behind this. So, the first visual effect that can come out in the opening is you dressing right for the occasion. The second part that you can directly resonate with people is the audio part, isn't it? Audio. What are the best possible audio effects that you can give out to your audience if you're coming here for the first time? The simplest things that you can think of, one is quotations. Note, even in today's session, I started with the quotations. Everyone knew about it, but that's fine. Other thing that you can also do is ask questions. What type of questions can you ask? What is Trump's birthday? Why would anybody in the audience be bothered about it? The question that you're trying to put to the audience needs to be very simple, that more than 50% of the audience can have a ready answer for it. 5 senses. Yeah, the sixth sense, which is common sense, which is a bit difficult to have. The next part of having an opening, we missed out on the feeling part, right? So the question could also take care of that. How would you feel if someone says that you are about to win a lottery today? Oh, smiles. I got my answers there. Right? So you make someone feel better, or you make them feel disgusting. That is also a very, very nice way to start the entire speech session. One of my mentors, Dr. Sibijan Matthew from IMB, the first time I ever heard him, he made me feel so bad about being in the audience. By the time he ended his speech, he really made me feel more bad that why do I exist on this earth? And for this experiment, he was the runner-up of the best speech in that particular season. See, you can be famous or infamous. Either ways, you hog the limelight on this stage. Yeah? So, you got the opening part right? Yes. Questions, quotations, stories. If you want to really dig deep into making people feel things, stories are something that would really come in. A problem with story here is that many of us rely on WhatsApp stories. A good percentage of us would have already received it, so the originality of the story really goes out, and hence the feeling never comes. No matter, even if it is a great WhatsApp story, unless you put in your own experience into that story and meddle it a bit, do not use that. That's a personal request. Okay? We went on from opening here. Now, how long should the opening thing take? Not more than 1 minute. Okay? Not more than 1 minute is the opening, and then we go on to the body part of it. Now, let me just go to the body part in a different way. You also have another sheet which is there next to you. Okay, it's called the general and specific. One thing that we learned from our LDP session that we are currently going through in District 92 is this one gentleman called DTM Nagaraj. He's a person who brought District 92 District 82 into existence. And when he went into Sri Lanka to have this whole area created, he was with his wife, it seems, and he was called onto the stage. He didn't know about it. This particular thing is going to happen. just there with Hawaii chappals. He was just there to maybe say hi, hello to a couple of people and then run away. And he's called onto the stage. He's there with Hawaii chappals and baggy shirt. Rest everyone are in suits. And there he is told that you would be the in charge of District 82. Well, imagine how the audience would feel about the in charge of District 82 at that particular moment. Visually, he was not ready for that particular option. But in his whole journey, he gave out two very, very important messages. And this is something that you all should and 100% follow in every of your speech, is that if you are giving out an experience, what is it that you learned out of it? And where can I apply what I have learned out of it? Anything. So, let's say that you're going to talk about your experience with having the first baby. The statement could be something like, I was there with my wife in the delivery room. She was shouting, and I had no energy left to even utter a word. And then the baby came out, and even that did not speak, did not cry. I was scared because suddenly there was a full silence in the room. My wife stopped screaming. The doctor stopped yelling. I was in amazement that there is a new person in the room now, and scared at the same moment because babies cry when they are born. But this one was not making any noise. The doctor kept the baby on the incubator, and I followed her. I was still scared whether my baby would be able to speak. The doctor came to me and asked, why are you so terrified? The baby is not crying, I said. And the doctor said, it's not very normal for the baby not to cry. But from what I hear from your wife, I think she's just getting to be exact replica of you. I was shocked. What do you mean? She says you speak a lot, and before you speak a lot, you need some energy. She needs to be fed first. You'll hear her speaking soon. The moment the baby was given back to the mother, and she had a little bit of milk, then started. Well, she has been like me for the past 1.5 years. I just tried to put out a few details of how a simple scenario could be put out in 3 different senses. There was a strange sound that I suddenly created, that was for the audio people. There was a vision, or rather a picture that was being described of how exactly that scenario was. And as I bring down my voice and try to say that there is something serious happening, there was a feeling thing that was being put out. Isn't it? So, these 3 senses, if you can put into every scenario that you're creating, your connect with audience is definitely there. And when the connection with the audience is definitely there, you can speak for hours and days together. And that is a great quality of a speaker that you need to have when you practice your speeches again. Right? So, I gave some examples over here, and in that example, we had a general purpose and a specific purpose. The specific purpose was that you have to use 3 senses to communicate. Whereas the general purpose was a story that didn't really tell out what the specific purpose was, but it still connected you with people. If you are giving out an example, your specific purpose could be absolutely different. Your general purpose could be something else altogether. You could do something on the stage and try to derive a meaning out of it. And how do you do it? Is the part where your mentors will help you make it better. So if you have a content that you want to create a story on or a speech on, these templates only help you start up your work. Right? For this particular session, the requirement that was put out by Rashmi was we have a huge audience who has not yet started their speaking journey. How can we have them come out to the stage continuously with more new content and present? What I had to do was put that up as the specific requirement. So, what did we do first? We understood how the sync can happen between the stage and the audience. You have now a good control of this room. The second part to it, understanding what is your strength. I am going to give out the presentation to Rashmi. Take it back with you. There are about 10 into 3 questions. It's the same scenario, and you will be asked, how would I respond to it visually, audio-wise, or feeling-wise? Mark yourselves in those sections and find out what type of speaker are you? Audio, a visual, or a kinesthetic? And wherever you find some gaps that you are not at all in this particular space, use that information in your pathways self-assessment, where you can say whether you're good in something or not. How many people have really gone through that pathways assessment thing? Everyone? Great. Now you will again go through the same thing when you're going to present your first speech or the next speech, or rather in every single speech you have to do a pre-assessment and a post-assessment. So assess yourself on these 3 skills. How good or bad am I for the questions that are there? And then work on your presentations, which all the rules are given out. How do you come up with a general purpose? This is a specific purpose. And always make sure that whatever content you're going to prepare, what is it that one learning that I took out of it, or what is the learning that the audience can take out of it? Remember, the session is for 90 minutes, and everyone is giving their 3 senses on loan to you. It's your duty to entertain these 3 senses for the 6 minutes period or the 7 minutes period that you come onto the stage for. Right? Okay. So, this too is always mandatory on any content that you come up with. The specific purpose of it would be given in the speech manual itself as to what are the things that you're supposed to showcase. How do you do it? Where will you showcase it? Or how do you get it verified? Have mentors. If you do not know how to present a particular segment, reach out to the VP Education, to the executive committee who is here, and it is their responsibility to get you a mentor. It could be in your club itself, if this is a brand new club, somewhere outside. You might have to visit other clubs to find your own mentors. That's a great thing in Toastmasters, is that you can find who your mentor should be. You do not have someone else assigned on to you. I frequent IMP because I have n number of mentors over there. And how do you make use of them? Come up with your content, give it out to them. And you will get the best possible answers on how this could be tweaked to make it a winning speech. Right? So, we understood this part. We are going to the last part of it. Now, general and specific is for the body of it. The last part of it is closing. And if I had to say a small thing before I leave the stage for you, it's about the story of my uncle when he was a little boy. A little boy studying in a government school because his father was a government doctor and he could not afford a fancy school for his kids at that time. One of his teachers came back to this doctor and mentioned, "Your son has a very special talent. Unfortunately, he's not using it." The doctor asked, "What is this special talent?" He said, "I can't really say, but there is some brilliance in him which is difficult to define, but it is there. If you leave him without tapping into this potential, he might be doing something else that you do not want him to do." So, to start with, let me begin tutoring him. Obviously, the little son was irritated that a teacher from his school is coming to his house and giving him tuitions. He would do all unwanted things to get rid of this teacher. But the teacher never gave up. One fine day, he thought he should do some prank that the teacher never comes back again. And he wanted to follow this teacher after the tuition classes were done. The house was on a hill, and the person has to walk down a few steps to come to the bus stop. The teacher comes out and he removes his specs, puts it in his pocket. The next moment, he's not visible. Boy comes looking, where exactly did he suddenly disappear? Then he sees, or rather hears, something happening on the bushes. He sees someone is crawling out of the room, and he goes crawling all the way till the bus stop. He gets up over there, someone helps him into the bus, and he goes. Dwight is totally astonished as to what is this teacher really trying to do. He reaches out to the teacher and asks him, "Sir, I saw you yesterday. You were crawling. Why is it?" The teacher says, "I have night blindness. I cannot see the night." The boy had no other questions. And when he told me this story, which I again reiterated in one of the trips to US, a person in the audience was literally in tears. The world is a small place. I had that teacher's son sitting in the room on that particular day. And he was not happy with his father spending more time with his students. He is now doing well. He is in the US. And the reason why he had tears in his eyes was because this uncle of mine, he is amongst the best known architects in the country right now. And in his temple, he has a photograph of a human being, his teacher. Anyone who enters the house asks, what is a human figure doing inside a temple? And there is a story. What is your story that you would like to give out to the audience when you come to a place like this? Remember, all your experiences can be twisted, tweaked, turned to make it a little bit more interesting. Remember, only you know about it. And you have to present it in 4 to 6 minutes. You close it by a story or any other sayings. I would close it by just saying that people will forget what you say to them. People will forget what you do to them. But people will remember how you made them feel. Be kinesthetic, get onto the stage and share this feeling with the rest of the audience. I wish you all a very, very happy Toastmaster journey.
Now that is what I call cooking up a storm. Very well done, Kiki. Thank you so much. So after that, how does one follow that?